So, good morning, students. Welcome to this online lecture. So, today we are going to learn about the first chapter, geometry. So, first of all, we will see what is meant by a geometry. What are the things or concepts or basic concepts are included in this chapter. So, elementary geometry is a science which deals with the space in which we live. It means that a geometrical physical things in all over in our day-to-day life is the geometry, means whatever the objects, things, whatever we have used in our daily life is the concept of geometry, or all these objects are geometrical figures. So how it is, we will see one by one. It begins with the consideration of certain elements of the space which are called points, lines, circles, parallelograms, or whatever the figures which we draw out, whether it is a three-dimensional or two-dimensional, all these figure outs we use in a space are the geometrical figures. So now let us see here how we will describe some of these are a point, line, or a plane, because all these concepts are not covered in your syllabus. Just we have to see here point, line, and plane. So first of all, we see here the definition of a solid. Yes. So look at on the screen. The block represented in the next figure or a certain portion of a space are occupied by objects or matter. So that is shown in this figure. So the certain portion of space are occupied by some objects or matter or whatever the things which are filled in that object, which we call it is a solid figure or a solid object or a solid matters. So look at here, this is the first figure. So in this figure, we see this is a cuboid and it filled with some matters or some objects. समजते सगळ्यांना? जर ही पहिली फिगर पाहिली आहे तर याच्यामध्ये काहीतरी फिल केलेले सॉलिड आहे आणि त्यामुळे त्याला आपण सॉलिड फिगर म्हणतो. सो वी स्टडी ओनली simply the shape and size of that figure. If we see here the second figure, this is only the shape and size of that cuboid. Yes. So in a geometry we will study only the shape and size of the second image. Yes, not the first one, because a solid geometry is not covered in your syllabus. So this is a physical solid and it is can be touched and handled. म्हणजे काय की फिजिकल सॉलिड जो आहे, जो पहिल्या फिगर मध्ये तुम्हाला दिसतोय, तर तो म्हणजे त्याला तुम्ही हाताळू शकता. आता आपण पेन आहे किंवा हा मोबाईल आहे, ऑल दीज आर फिजिकल सॉलिड स्ट्रक्चर्स. येस, जे आपण हाताळू शकतो. आणि फिजिकल सॉलिड नसणाऱ्या ज्या जस्ट फक्त आपण त्याची साईज किंवा लेंथ ब्रेथ आपण म्हणजे मोजू शकतो, तर त्याचं जे स्ट्रक्चर असतं, तर त्या जॉमेट्रिकल फिगर्सचा आपल्याला या चॅप्टरमध्ये अभ्यास करायचा आहे. ठीक आहे. सो वी विल स्टडी हिअर ओनली द स्ट्रक्चर्स ऑफ शेप अँड साईज ऑफ द ऑब्जेक्ट्स अँड मॅटर्स. येस. फॉर एक्झाम्पल, what is the difference between solid figures and here the simply shape and size of that figures? So for example, a stick is a physical solid. म्हणजे तुम्हाला काठी माहिती आहे किंवा हा पेन आपण म्हणता येणार नाही कारण मध्ये पोकळी आहेच नाही, पण काठी आहे. A stick is a physical solid. But if you put it into a wet plaster, म्हणजे त्या काठीला जर आपण असं प्लास्टर लावलेलं आहे and then remove that stick from that wet plaster, then the hole that is left may be thought of as a geometric सॉलिड. आर यू अंडरस्टँड? मला वाटतं ते समजतं तुम्हाला की जी पोकळी निर्माण होते दॅट इज द सॉलिड जॉमेट्रिक सॉलिड फिगर अँड दॅट वी हॅव टू स्टडी हियर. येस, अँड दॅट पोकळी जी निर्माण होते, जो तो आकार तयार होतो, दॅट इज filled by some air, but we have to study such a type of objects. Now, so see here the definition of a geometric solid: a limited portion of a space. मी जे आता सांगितलेले आहे ऑलरेडी, जे तुम्ही मागच्या स्लाइड मध्ये पाहिलेले आहे, a limited portion of a space is called a geometric solid. I think all of you clear the meaning of a geometric solid and the cuboid and what we have to study in this chapter. Yes, so let us see here. The next definition is the dimension. So the block represented in the above figure is this one here. Yes, so if you take from left to right, that is the portion from this capital A to D. Yes, or this figure indicates some principles from this point A to D or from this point A to B. It is called as from front to back or back to front. Then from this point A to E, it is from top to bottom. Yes, so these are the some principal directions, and these directions, these extensions, so look at here, these extensions are called the dimensions of the block. Are you understand? जे आपण A या पॉइंट पासून D कडे गेलो, A या पॉइंट कडनं B कडे गेलो, A या पॉइंट कडनं E कडे गेलो. For example, we sit in this classroom. Yes, so whatever the walls are here on this classroom, so the first wall is coincides with this wall, and this wall is coincides with the right hand side wall. So whatever the walls are fixed, so that is the point. And if three walls are coincides, this top rule, left and right, then these three walls are coincides with one point or intersect with one point, and that point is from left to right or right to left or front to back or top to bottom. Yes, so these are the dimensions. How? So let us see here. So first name order given is a length, जी की A पासन D कडे जो पॉइंट गेला. So look at here in this figure. Sorry, just see here. So from this point A to D, so this is the length. Now we see here the next one is the breadth, or sometimes it is called as the width, ज्याला आपण रुंदी म्हणतो. So that is A to B, so that is the width of this block. And the next one is a thickness, म्हणजे त्याची जाडी, and it is a height. त्या thicknessला आपण height ही म्हणू शकतो, or it is altitude or a depth of that block. So similarly, we may vary this. Every solid has a 3 dimensions. जगामध्ये जेवढ्या काही म्हणजे स्ट्रक्चर्स आहेत किंवा ऑब्जेक्ट्स आहेत किंवा ज्या काही फिजिकल थिंग्स आहेत, all these are of a 3-dimensional objects. Are you understand? हे सगळ्या काही 3 dimensions मध्ये आहेत. So we very often solid is of such a shape that we cannot point out the length or distinguish. म्हणजे काय की आपल्याला काही अशा काही फिगर्स असतात, फिगर्स नाही म्हणता येणार त्याला, काही असे काही सॉलिड्स फिजिकल थिंग्स असतात किंवा ऑब्जेक्ट्स आहेत किंवा मॅटर्स आहेत की त्याची लेंथ, ब्रेथ अँड हाईट म्हणजे 3 डायमेन्शनल मध्ये आपण त्याची कॅल्क्युलेट नाही करू शकत. वी कॅनॉट कॅल्क्युलेट द डायमेन्शन्स ऑफ दॅट फिगर और ऑब्जेक्ट्स. व्हाय? बिकॉज दीज फिगर्स or these objects are not well structured. For example, if you take the कोळसा जो आहे, आता त्याचं स्ट्रक्चर नाहीये, त्याची आपण हाईट, लेंथ अँड ब्रेथ हे सगळं काही 3 डायमेन्शन मध्ये नाही मोजू शकत, बिकॉज इट इज नॉट इन वेल स्ट्रक्चर. येस, सो दिस इज द एक्झाम्पल. इट इज इम्पॉसिबल टू डिस्टिंग्विश 1 dimensional, 2 dimensional and 3 dimensional of such a subject objects. Yes, now look at here the next definition, and it is a surface. So what is meant by a surface? So the block shown in the above figure means जो मी मगाशी तुम्हाला जो ब्लॉक दाखवला तर तो जो ब्लॉक आहे तर त्या ब्लॉक मध्ये जर पाहिलं तर त्याला किती फेसेस आहेत, हाऊ मेनी फेसेस ऑफ दिस ब्लॉक. सो लुक एट हियर दिस वन, हाऊ मेनी फेसेस आर देयर. सो दिस each in this block there are 6 faces. So look at on the screen. If you see, this is the top face, this is the first one, you can call it as the first. Second is here, this is the second face. Third face is on back side of that block. Fourth one is here, this one is the fifth, and bottom side is one face is there, and it is sixth one. Means this block shown in this figure has 6 faces. So if the faces are made smooth by polishing, so that when a straight edge is applied to any one, yes, then the straight edge in every part will touch the surfaces. Are you understand what do you mean by this one? Surface. If, for example, if the two palms are coincides with each other, and every point of these two palms are coincides, then we say that these are smooth surfaces or plane surfaces. Next example is the surfaces are simply the boundaries of the solid. They have no thickness, even as a colored light shining upon a piece of a paper. For example, if you take such a type of paper, yes, and if you take the color for this paper, then also we cannot increase the thickness of this paper. It is a smooth and plain, and that's why it is called as a plane surface. I think all of you clear what is meant by a plane surface? Yes. So look at here, the next one. Now see here the definition of a line. So what do you mean by line? आपण लाईन म्हणजे काय, रेषा, रेषा म्हणजे काय? Yes, think about this. What is meant by a line? So look at here the definition of a line. In the solid which is shown in the above figure, which is shown here. So look at here, a solid which is shown here, the two adjacent surfaces. आता आपण surfaces ची definition आत्ताच पाहिली. Surfaces म्हणजे काय? So look at here, this A, B, F, E, or we can read it as A, E, F, B. So this is the one of the surface. So if this surface is coincides with B, F, G, C, yes. So these two surfaces are coincides, then a line is formed. And what is that line? So look at here, this BF is a line. Yes. So just I define here the definition of a line by using this figure. Yes. I think, are you understand why it is called as a line? मग आता या लाईनला breadth किंवा thickness असते का? Yes. Whether a line is formed by two adjacent surfaces, yes, and these two surfaces are bounded or adjoint or joined here, and it is denoted by BF, then the length without breadth or thickness is called as a line. So I think, are you understand what do you mean by line? लाईन म्हणजे काय की दोन सर्फेसेस ज्यावेळेस आपण जॉईन करतोय, या फिगरच्या बाबतीत मी बोलतोय. येस. तर तो जॉईन केल्याच्या नंतर जी लाईन तुम्हाला तिथं ॲडजस्टंट साईडला दिसते, दॅट इज मीन बाय लाईन. पण त्या लाईनला कुठल्याही पद्धतीची थिकनेस, जाडी नसते, किंवा त्या लाईनला लेंथ जी आहे किंवा ब्रेड्थ म्हणा, थिकनेस म्हणा, ती नसते. आणि त्यामुळेच आपण त्यांना काय म्हणतो, दॅट इज कॉल्ड ॲज ए लाईन. ओके. मग आता एक्झाम्पल देता येईल. सो व्हॉट इज द एक्झाम्पल ऑफ ए लाईन इन युअर डेली लाईफ? येस, माहीत आहे का तुम्हाला डेली लाईफमध्ये एखादं एक्झाम्पल? ठीक आहे. अ टेलिग्राफ वायर, जो एखादा आपण वायर घेतलं, whether it is a line or not. If it is yes, then how? So see here, telegraph wire or any electric wire is not a line. Why? Because it is a solid. तो सॉलिड आहे. का बरं सॉलिड आहे? त्याच्यामध्ये फील केलेलं मॅटर आहे ना काहीतरी. इवन पेन्सिल मार्क, जी पेन्सिल आहे, इट इज ऑल्सो नॉट ए लाइन बिकॉज इट इज अ सॉलिड. यस, इट हॅज सम थिकनेस. यस, म्हणून ती पण लाईन नाही. पण इफ वी रिमूव्ह वन कवर अँड टेक आउट द वायर, आयर्न वायर, जे तुमचं जे वायर असतं त्या वायरबद्दल मध्ये वायर असतं, वरती जे प्लास्टिकचं कवर आहे ते जर काढलं आणि ते फक्त स्मॉल एक वायर जर बाहेर काढलं तर त्याला थिकनेस नसते. येस, अँड दॅट इज कॉल्ड एज अ लाईन. सो दिस इज द एक्झाम्पल, डेली एक्झाम्पल ऑफ ए लाईन. ओके. Now look at here, the next definition is a magnitude. So solids, surfaces and lines are called as a magnitude. म्हणजे सॉलिड असेल एखादा किंवा तुमचं सरफेस असेल एखादा किंवा एखादी लाईन असेल तर त्यांना काय आपण म्हणायचं, इट इज कॉल्ड एज अ मॅग्निट्यूड्स. सो लुक एट हिअर द नेक्स्ट डेफिनेशन ऑफ ए पॉइंट. सो व्हॉट डू यू मीन बाय ए पॉइंट? In the solid figure we seen on the screen previous slide, we see that the two lines, बघा लक्षात घ्या, पहिल्यांदा मी तुम्हाला काय सांगितलेलं आहे की solid geometry means what. After that, what is meant by a smooth surface, then the two surfaces are coincides to each other, we get a line, and then we can come to here the definition of a point. So point means the two lines coincides and the end points of that line is a point. Are you understand? A point is therefore a simply the boundary of a line and has no length, no breadth and no thickness. कळतोय? पॉइंटला लेंथ नसते, ब्रेड नाही आणि थिकनेस पण नाही. That is called as a point. I think, are you understand what do you mean by a point? So that is only a position without length, breadth and thickness is called as a point. So if you think of extremity of a line as a point, we may also think of the intersection of two lines as a point. म्हणजे दोन लाईन्स जर इंटरसेक्ट झाल्या तर जो इंटरसेक्शनचा जो पॉइंट असतो that is called as a point. Yes. Now look at here the next concept, and it is the representing the points and geometric magnitudes. आता ते represent कसे करायचे? So although if we only imagine such a geometric magnitudes as a lines or planes, let us see by using the next figure. This one, we represent a point by a finite dot. So if you see here the figure, so this is the dot. We can take here and we can call it as a capital P. Means we can denote our name by a letter as a capital P. We represent a line by a finite mark and name it as a letter at the end of that line, and it is AB. So look at here on this figure. So this is the line AB. Yes, we can denote it by a notation AB. Then we represent its boundary lines and name it by letters. Means all these lines, if it coincides, we get that these boundary lines are A, B, C, D. Yes. So these are the representing of a points and geometric magnitudes and lines by using this figure. Yes. Now you can think about. Keep in mind, a line is generated by moving a point. Are you understand? A line is generated by moving a point. Then you can think about a surface is generated by moving a line. Are you understand? and the next you can think about a solid as a generated by moving a surface. तर हे तुम्ही 3 पॉइंट्स व्यवस्थित लक्षात ठेवा की आपण लाईन कशा पद्धतीनं ड्रॉ करतो किंवा कशा पद्धतीनं फॉर्म होते. तर एक पॉइंट दुसऱ्या पॉइंट पर्यंत जर मूव्ह केला वी गेट अ लाईन. यस. दुसरं काय, ए सरफेस. सरफेस कसा आपण जनरेट करतो, जर तुम्ही एक लाईन दुसऱ्या लाईन पर्यंत मूव्ह केली म्हणजे ए टू बी अशी एक लाईन आहे, वी कॅन मूव्ह दिस लाईन फ्रॉम दिस प्लेस टू दिस प्लेस, वी गेट अ सरफेस. अँड द नेक्स्ट थिंग इज अशा पद्धतीचे सरफेस, एक सरफेस आहे तो जर दुसऱ्या ठिकाणी सरफेस मूव्ह केला, तिसऱ्या ठिकाणी सरफेस मूव्ह केला, वी गेट ए सॉलिड. आर यू अंडरस्टँड? फॉर एक्झाम्पल, so this is the classroom. So there are 4 walls of this classroom. So one wall is one surface and 2 surfaces are coincides, we get a line. Yes, and 8 points are a point, or if we intersect these 2 lines we get a point. So are you understand my point? What is mean by line, point, surface and solid? Yes. Now see here, what is mean by a geometric figures? आता बघा, पहिल्यापासून जे आपण पाहतोय आतापर्यंत जो आपण पाहिलेले, तर आता जॉमेट्रिक फिगर्स म्हणजे काय. तर हे आतापर्यंत ज्या काही गोष्टी आपण डिस्कस केल्या, व्हॉट एव्हर वी हॅव डिस्कस्ड हियर, अ पॉइंट सरफेस, देन प्लेन सरफेस, देन वी शो हियर सम क्यूबॉइड्स. यस, ऑल दीज आर जॉमेट्रिक फिगर्स. So look at here, a point, line, surface, solid or any combination of these is called as a geometric figures. So geometric figures is generally called simply figure. ज्या काही figures ड्रॉ आउट करतो आपण त्याला आपण फक्त फिगर म्हणतो. geometric figure असं जनरली आपण म्हणत नाही. ठीक आहे. So now look at here the definition of a geometry. So the science of geometric figures is called as a geometry. Are you understand? So this is the paper you have learned on B.Sc first year, and the name of that paper is the geometry. Yes, geometry. So the science of geometric figures, ज्या काही figures ची स्टडी करायची आहे आणि त्या पेपरचं नाव काय, it is a geometry. Now look at here, there are many types of geometries there. So we see here what is meant by a plane geometry. The plane geometry treats of figures that lie wholly in the same plane, that is of plane figures. मग आता मी प्लेन आता सांगितलेले, मगाशी मी बोललो ना, what is meant by a plane? A smooth surface is called as a plane, and whatever the objects, whatever the figures you can draw in that plane is called as a plane geometry. Yes. Next one is a solid geometry. So treats of figures that do not lie in the wholly in one plane or same plane, then we can call it as a solid geometry. फरक कळतोय प्लेन जॉमेट्री आणि सॉलिड जॉमेट्री. प्लेन जॉमेट्री मीन्स जे काही जॉमेट्रीची स्टडी आपल्याला करायची ती एकाच प्लेन मध्ये असणाऱ्या फिगर्स, पॉइंट्स, लाईन्स अँड द कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ लाईन्स which we draw in that same plane is the study of a plane geometry. And if a line or a point or any geometrical figure do not lie on the same plane is a solid geometry. I think are you understand the concept of solid geometry and plane geometry? Yes. Now look at here the definition of a straight line. A line such that a part placed with its end or any other part must lie wholly in the line. Are you understand the meaning of this definition of a straight line? म्हणजे एखादी लाईन तुम्ही काढलेली आहे, A to B, suppose point A is here and point B is here, and if we join this, so this is the line. Why we call it as a straight line? Because if you take any part of that line and place again on the same part, if it is a join, then it is a straight. Yes, and that's why it is called as a straight line, and so this is the meaning of this definition. Yes. Now we will discuss here the equation of a plane. I think up to this mark we will discuss the point, line, plane, and the concepts and basic definitions of the geometrical figures, and basic definition of what do we mean by a geometry, what do we mean by a solid geometry, what do we mean by a plane geometry, what is meant by a point, what is meant by a straight line, what is meant by a line, what is meant by a surface, what is meant by a plane surface. Yes. In the next lecture, we will see here the general equation of a plane, and it is in a first degree. Okay. So we have stopped here. Thank you.